Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very much. And today we have a return guest again. I haven't done one of these for a little while, actually, but it's a big welcome back to someone very, very special, an actor, a motivational speaker, a pioneer and advocate for mental health and sexual assault charities, a one-woman show extraordinaire, lover of the arts, and Prima Facie specialist. It's a big welcome back to the fantastic Cassandra Woodhouse. Cassandra, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back. I'm so excited. Yeah.
No. But as soon as we finished our conversation last year, I remember saying, actually, we've got to get you back on, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been, I'm excited to have you back, Cassandra. Lovely to see you. So, I suppose the first question for every returning guest is simply this. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a year older. I have been I did not intend to be doing Prima Facie again this year. It has taken on a life of its own. So it's great to be back and talking about it and having another year under my belt of performing it and learning so much about it and continuing to deepen the story within myself and then the people I meet, audiences. Yeah, this year particularly performing it was it it was a real tool for advocacy this year. So I partnered with a sexual assault organization, Tō Mai, here in New Zealand,
Mhm.
who so they asked me to, I helped them with an event when I finished last year, and they said, would you do it again? And I said, not without support, because obviously I did it all on my own last time.
Yeah.
But I love it, and I wanted to do it again. And so we partnered up, and alongside another public tour, we have taken it into schools, making it free for high school and university students across New Zealand.
Hmm.
And we're still doing that. So and that has just it's so rewarding because the play is like this little vehicle, big vehicle, but a vehicle, and then then it's just a doorway to advocacy. It's a doorway to continue the conversation. Because what I found last year was that all people, but especially young people, they were hungry to continue the conversation. So it was really hard always saying goodbye, and when they were so hungry for answers and hungry to continue conversations and wanting to know their rights and all these things that, I mean, I have learned a lot, but I still was under-resourced personally to be able to provide them with a lot of the support that they were hungry for. So that became a big driving factor for why I wanted to bring it back. And I'm pleased to say that it has only just continued to blow my mind, the impact that this show has. The conversation. So every show is now we follow up with a Q&A with either local police, lawyers, always sexual harm organizations, psychologists. So there's always a panel of people within the area we're in, so they know that that support is available in their communities. So that was a big thing I wanted, was to be able to provide people support or just knowledge of these resources that are in their communities, because
Hmm.
I didn't know about them until I did this play, so that's been, and they just do such incredible work. So I was like, how do I get these organizations out there? And so that's been really great. And the questions that come at us and the insights that both young and old, have for us is, it's so informative of where the consciousness is at around this subject.
Mm.
Mm.
It's brilliant. This played on many levels, but like we are stimulating this level of conversation amongst many people. I know one thing we talked about last time is, just so many people coming out with stories after, probably these years of thinking of, is anyone going to listen to me and all that kind of stuff, and finally getting their story out and getting rid of all this shame, I think it's huge. But we'll get on to like the audience's reaction in just a second. But just quickly, what was the name of that company? Was it? I'm going to mispronounce this, but
Oh,
T-
Tokumai. So
yeah.
Tautokomai, Tokumai, and there's also Help Auckland have been amazing as well. But there's a bunch of them. But they would
Yeah.
Tōtokamai are the ones that really got on board and did a big fundraiser so that we could make the show, free for high school students. And
Oh,
and provide.
brilliant.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they go in and provide follow-up education within the schools as well, troubled youth, yeah,
Yeah.
they're amazing the work they do. And
Brilliant. Yeah, how's
yeah.
it been this time having support? Because remember last time, again, it literally was a one-woman show, literally, not only just performing, but traveling and putting on stuff in the van afterwards. But what's the
Yeah.
difference now having support with
Well,
you
it
this time around?
Well, it still is in a lot of ways. I still travel alone. I still sort of pack in, but I'm learning to be more open to support when it's offered. Just having, I think for me, the support. So yeah, I still do majority of it on my own because those shows are often within public performances. So
Hmm.
um, the public ones I'm producing and planning myself as well. So I'm still doing a lot of them myself. Like I just did New Plymouth a couple of weeks ago, and I drove 6 hours there, packed in, did the show, did a Q&A afterwards, and then had a few more nights after that. And then drove
Ouch.
home. Yeah, so that's the reality of carrying this on my own back.
Wow.
But having their support and saying that and having their support has been amazing. Even just in terms of the support around the continued conversation, I think, because like I said, I knew I was limited to what I knew, and I've learned a lot, and I'm picking up more and more every single show and every Q&A we have. But I wanted people to feel like they had the right people to give them those answers
Hmm.
instead of, not just, me going, well, I've heard this, I've heard that, and I do speak a lot and I've learned a lot. But yeah, they've been amazing, and just have been able to bounce off them and send them, when people reach out and want to follow things up, having them to sort of having them to direct those questions to, or that's been amazing. But yeah, it's been great, and just their passion for it is, I feel like I'm not alone with driving this myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just all their interactions. But they interact with all the schools and do all those kind of connections, which I wanted to do last year, but being a one-man band, you're limited with how much you can actually do. And I was, I did my best, but so having them, liaise with the schools and do all that, that's been great.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good lead on to like the audience's reaction to this time around because again in our last chat you told some stories like and I was just like oh my God. I mean it's funny enough I released a reel of yours actually just yesterday in fact well from our last conversation you said like you heard stories like the of daughters of fathers who ran um pedophile rings and stuff like that, and it's just
They were the children of that,
yeah, and I remember
like that.
remember you
Yeah,
saying
crazy.
that. Just God, even now, it still makes me want to just throw up, honestly. But this time around, what kind of stories have you heard this time?
I think what I'm noticing with the schools particularly is they are so they're just so desperate for answers that when they're just given a little seed of someone listening to them and
Yeah,
someone educating them on this, they're actually hungry for it. And this is what I mean about wanting to provide the resources, because I was getting young people going, my friend got raped, what do I do? And then holding their friends' hands, just going, wanting to share their stories in front of all their classmates, which I can, respect that that's a really big thing to share in front of
yeah,
your friends, but they
huge.
needed to get it out. And this varies with particular areas as well, and socioeconomic areas, but so a lot of hunger for them wanting to know, well, what do I do when with all the information that they're getting online and the stuff they're exposed to, they aren't equipped to deal with it, but they don't really know how to stop it, and they don't really know. So they need someone advocating for them. They need someone going, well, they'll say, well, what happens when someone asks you for these pictures online, or someone's asking you to do these things online? They just want to know. So
Mm,
being able to share that, who do I turn to? Mothers bringing their daughters who are just lost because they've
yeah,
had an experience and then they can't go back to school and they don't know who to turn to. So being able to just provide support in that way is a beautiful way that the art can be such a form of advocacy.
mm,
And and then, yeah, obviously continued. beautiful emails of people sharing their hearts and sharing their stories. That sort of never ends. Um, and and just meeting audiences after I meet, every single show I go out. I think I mentioned that last time. I always go out and say hi to everybody,
Wow.
and they may share their story, but they may not. But you can see it in their eyes. What some of them, all they can muster is, "I'm one in three. Thank you very much." Uh, I know I give them a hug, and just to to see to see, and this is another thing I've loved about the show, is to see the impact that when we see our stories shared, the impact that has on people, just to not feel so alone. And I'm telling a pretend story, like I'm up there acting, but when it's done in a way that we dig from the rawest of ourselves and the most vulnerable and the most truthful as we can, when we see our stories shared, we do feel less alone, because we realize we're not the only one going through that. And I think
Yeah.
whatever they choose to go and decide to do from there with it, and particularly the older generation, they've harbored things their whole lives, and you see the armor they've built up around that, and being able to see them sort of release that is a really lovely thing. And the big thing I've learned is healing and justice looks very different for a lot of people.
Mm.
And what I'm noticing is a lot of people just sharing their stories and feeling seen and heard.
Yeah.
That is enough for a lot of people, and that's where I think the power of this story, what the power of the story really has, is that ability to do that. And good storytelling, good stories in general, but when we really touch on those things, and then the conversations afterwards we've been having have been really all different emotions at the legal system and what needs to change, and how do we keep hope, and or how there's a lot. You get victim survivors who are really angry. Some are really angry after the show, and they've been
Yeah.
done, and so there's a lot. My director actually said, "You're very brave the way you're putting yourself out there to continue the conversation, because you never know. I never know what's going to come at me after." But I trust in what the story is. I trust in something bigger. Like I said last time, the story feels a lot bigger than me, and I trust in that, and I trust in that to be able to just share what I know, and it's about connection really, and connecting with people, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I think,
Mm.
I think that one of the greatest compliments you can give anyone is just listen to them and just say, "What's your story? I'm here. Let's talk this through."
Yeah, beautiful. And that's a big thing that's come up with educating people around sexual assault, is the first reaction to someone sharing their story is uh, vital in their healing journey.
Mm.
So especially with younger people, we share a lot with younger people around, like, you may be the first person your friend tells, and because they're more likely to tell their friend than they are a parent or an adult.
Mm.
So like teaching them how to navigate that, because that is a huge part of the healing journey and what they do forward. And then these organizations are amazing, because they're going into workplaces and talking with bosses around, well, how do you deal with sexual assault claims, and education needs to be done around that, because I think we're not really we don't expect it. So our natural thing is to go, "Oh, you sure?" Or,
Mm.
"Oh, he's a nice guy. You sure that And sometimes those things just come out, but it can make a survivor really doubt what their experiences
Yeah.
were. Um, so yeah, so much education around things like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, just being, listening and believing victims when they tell you something's happened,
Yeah.
because you don't know how long it's taken them to muster up the courage to share their story.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, I know with Tessa's story that how hard was for her to actually just even admit it to the police, and to
Oh, yeah.
actually get the words out is really hard.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember because it's just hearing that now, it just got me thinking about like another thing I remember you saying was that, the 1 in 3, it's 1 in 3 women, but you also speak not only to the victims, but the perpetrators as well, 1 in 3. And, there's, so you guys in the UK version, it's Julian, and your version, it's Damien, isn't it? And, it's got me thinking there about these people out there who, those who have been caught and those who will be caught. You just you look at the mentality, it's like, and they're very, very sick, but they're somehow they're actually quite clever, and that's not me like praising them in any way whatsoever. And what I mean by that is, like you said, there's some people are very good. Are you sure? Are you sure about this person? Yeah, but look, they're nice. They're nice people. Look, they just bought the whole office coffee and cakes. I mean, what else can you possibly? How can you have a bad word to say about them? Always stays late. Always does his thing. Blah blah blah. But yeah, but come on.
There's so much. There's just and this is again why it's just such a vehicle to continue the conversation, because there's so much education even around that. Like, we hear 1 in 3 women, so we go, oh, does that mean it's 1 in 3 men? And what we know from facts are that perpetrators are often repeat offenders. So it's not 1 in 3 men.
Well,
so to sort of make that distinction and go, oh well, but also there's just so much work to be done on a lot of perpetrators were victims themselves. So where does the compassion lie to supporting perpetrators and their journey? We've got organizations here that they have perpetrators come in and say, I've done this, I don't know, and they want to get better. So,
wow.
It's a huge, and then you've got, people raising boys and wanting to know, how do I prevent the Damiens or the Julians of the world? And it's so layered, and I'm thankful that there is so much, work being done in this space, but it's a long way to go, because I saw a clip the other day. My daughter actually sent it to me, and I think it was a guy from the UK, and it was like a poetry sort of thing, and he was talking about how, the comments that you make as a young boy at school and that you get away with, and they're a bit derogatory, but those things from a young age that you say and get away with in packs with your friends, and but the schools are more focused on make sure your shirt's tucked in, and he went on to say that when those things aren't sort of addressed and disciplined from and called out from a young age, how they perpetuate, and then when they're in a situation where they just want something or that they've never learned. So how are we failing what I'm trying to say is that how are we failing our men by how we're raising them as well? And perpetrators are different and but I am, I'm very conscious of that, because he went on to say, I'll send you the clip, but he went on to say how many men left college tucking their shirts in, but became predators,
Yeah, it's interesting.
What are we focusing on? Are we focusing on calling out the bad behavior? Or are we focusing on looking a certain way and fitting it? And
it's more like
that goes up, to teachers and principals, and like how are we calling out that behavior from it. And even with young little boys, toddlers, when we're letting them jump all over us, and they're not teaching them, they know it. And same with little girls, teaching them that when they say a no, that's listened to, we don't override it, or there's just sort of like, where does it start? I think that is
exactly.
That's something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, but it opens up a big question, because I've had this conversation with a few people, is that the childhood is so key to the adult that you meet later in life, and I think we spoke again just now, because as a mum yourself, I'd imagine you've got, I haven't met your daughter, but I'm sure she's incredible, is that I imagine that you've brought her up to share her feelings, knowing that she's loved, and whatever's happening in your life, you can talk to me about it, anything at all. There is no holds barred. But you look at these predators and you think it all starts with the childhood. There was bad stuff there. There was abuse, and I think if you get the
Yeah,
childhood right and just bring somebody up with love, it's that
mm.
simple.
It
Things
is
can be very
simple.
different. You know, yeah.
It is simple, but as we know, there's a lot of perpetrators who were victims themselves, and so it's like, where does the cycle end? It takes a
Yeah.
lot for a person to, and because they grow up with not, they don't have the empathy or the sensitivity to it. And we actually did a show for sort of we had a lot of it was like a troubled youth group that came in, and they were in their hoodies, and like, oh God, are they going to
Yeah.
sit through this
Right.
90 minutes,
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
yeah, without their phones. I was like, oh, but they did. They
Wow.
sat there, and then, and the organization went in and followed up with them afterwards and just said, how did you feel after seeing that? Because the argument with Prima Facie is that, and we do get this, is what hope are you giving if she doesn't win in the end? That's something I hear a lot, and it's like, but I think a big thing that come out of it is justice exists in many forms. So you don't have to win a court case to get your power back or feel, to heal or to feel like you've done something. Like there's many ways that you can that you can get move through these things. But but when we talked to these young group of men, they said it gave us just empathy. We didn't realize
Mm,
that the impact something like that has.
mm.
So it's a very sort of black and white answer to go, well, it ends like this. So what hope is there? It's like, well, that's more reality. That's, statistics show us this is the reality of these cases, that not many of them make it through.
Mhm.
Uh, but also, yeah, that's why it's had such a movement, because it is such a war cry, and it's such
Yes.
it's outrage. And it's just waking people up to go, well, this is what's happening and this is real. What are we doing about it?
Yeah.
And you mentioned my daughter, and I think a lot of, I know myself with her, we were that generation. I'm not sure what you were like with your parents, but we were the generation that my parents never spoke to me about this stuff. So
Mm.
we are the
No,
generation that no, pardon?
mine neither. No.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's okay, and I tell this to parents. I'm like, it's okay to be awkward talking about this, because
Yeah.
we don't have a little book going, da, 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 da. We don't have a little blueprint of making it sound really cool. Uh, it is awkward, and we are talking about things that we didn't have those conversations with our parents. So we are paving the way and changing, things, but it's better to be having them than not. And I think our children forgive us a bit for being awkward, because they know our intention is to keep them safe and to empower them to have, this is another thing that's coming across, is we want to empower them to have healthy sex lives as well. We don't want to, you know, we're all sexual beings, and we all want to know how to live out that safely and enjoyably. So I think that's a big thing as well, is like, giving hope that, you can go on and have a healthy sex life, but learning how to do it through porn, or learning how to do it
Mm.
through your mates. Like we just need to be having those conversations, and they are awkward, and
Yeah, of course.
uh, but yeah, like it's better to be having them, and know that uh, that you've done your bit, and from a young age, age appropriately talking to, some of the organizations here go into preschools like kindergarten, and they just about the proper words for body parts and healthy touch, and because
Mm.
children don't know, and we've seen here that uh, there's been some incidences here where that education has been done in kindergartens, and then children have spoken out later that something had happened to them, but they only knew that that was wrong because of the education that was given to them. So and then it got reported a lot earlier and dealt with a lot earlier than so yeah. I'm blabbering, but there's a lot of work, and a lot of it's so multi-layered, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I think sometimes people can come out of the show wanting to just address the legal part. How does the law need to change, and how is it that the law is like that? And yes, that's a big part of it, but I think it's really important to remember that we all hold a power within ourselves as well.
Mm,
I remind audiences we make up the jury. We are jury members, so addressing things like rape myths and which still exist. It's just wild the things that people still believe and perpetuate. And women can be just as bad as men at perpetuating those myths. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done around that too, about, what you wear if you were drunk and all those classic myths around.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's you kind of have a look at these people and think like that. Just I might just take. I don't mean to take a dark turn now, but I won't make it too bad. But there's a person over here called, oh, I've forgotten her name. What's her name? She's a true crime like specialist. Her name's Kelly or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, her name will come back to me eventually. But she does a lot of work with. She goes around the UK sort of giving presentations about for some infamous people in the media, like the Myra Hindleys, the Ian Bradys, the kind of thing. I'm not sure if you guys know who they are, but they were a killer couple, and there's a couple in America called the Barbie and Ken killers. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of those. So no,
No.
it was a very weird nickname the media gave for them, but they looked like this perfect couple, like Barbie and Ken, but they were two of the most evil people you ever saw in your life. I won't go into what they did because it was just vile. There's a home film. I remember Kelly got up some home films that were shot in their house at the time. And I bring this up because, it's almost like there's a look or something. Obviously, sometimes there isn't a look, because sometimes you look at some people and think, why would they do it? They look nothing like it. There isn't a look at all. But it cuts to the Ken, in inverted commas, and he looks down the camera, and I swear to God, his eyes just changed for like a split second. It's just like in one moment, his eyes just went completely black, like a reptile. Literally just went like that, and then just like, oh hey, sorry, like that, and you're thinking, it's like, and then that whole, it's crazy.
There's definitely an element of there literally are like sociopaths out there that have
Mm,
those,
mm.
traits.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like,
yeah,
the look,
yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I
it's
don't know if you saw it, a study came out recently that I can't remember the percentage, but it was, a harsh reminder that a lot of perpetrators are white men. We get an image in our minds of what is projected to us in the media and society, what we deem to feel safe and unsafe, but a large majority are white men. And um, I we can just never be too careful.
exactly. It's
But we don't want to walk through the world scared either. I think
oh
that's
God,
what
no.
I,
Yeah.
you want to just have your wits about you. And I think something else that's come up for me, and it was a way, it was a way in for me when I was working on Tessa. Uh, and this might be quite deep, but
Go for it.
I was very interested in not, and I'm very careful when I say this because no one deserves to be assaulted in any
No,
way.
nobody.
However, I am very interested in, we all as humans have unmet needs and we seek out those needs
Hmm.
in many ways, very often unconsciously. But I think the role of an artist is to dig through someone's story and life. And there's a quote, I don't know who said it, but it was like, you've got to make that unconscious conscious and then make it unconscious again. You know what I mean? You have to be, as the artist, you have to be aware of this character's story and their traits, all their things, and then you have to sort of embody that and then put it aside again and just live it. So I think with Tessa, I think I was very curious and interested in how how this happened in a weird way. Uh, And it's not something many audience members would pick up on or anything, but it was just something I was really curious about as an artist of going, well, what was her upbringing? What was she so hungry for that she was blindsided?
Mm,
I think she was so hungry to escape her background. She was so to escape the class she grew up in, to escape, her violent brother, her mother. Like she wanted to get out of that world, and she fought with all her might to get into law school and to make that happen.
yeah.
But I think that drive potentially put her in danger because she just saw this world and
Mm,
wanted it badly. Because now when I look back at the script, I see the signs. I see the signs. He got in a taxi with her without even asking. He
yeah.
phone. He's got this way of just bulldozing over what she's saying. And he had his own agenda. He wanted to be the top in his game. He was the son of a KC. He had his own agenda. So those are the things I find really juicy, and I continue to explore them. And like I say, in no way uh, makes it acceptable. But I am interested in the things that we as humans do that diminish the value we have for ourselves and
mm.
put us actually in vulnerable situations.
Yeah, because I think that's
That may
fascinating.
be.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, no, because I never thought about that. Yeah, because Tessa, she like you said, she grew up in. I don't know actually because I overhear because when Jodie did it, obviously Jodie's from a place called Liverpool, which is like up in the north, which is a. I mean, now it's more developed, I think, and I don't mean to downgrade Liverpool. So any Scousers listening, I'm not offending Liverpool in any way. I love Liverpool; it's great, but but over the years, now it's a lot more developed and it's more, it's going to sound
Mhm.
it might be the wrong word to use, but cleaner, because back in the days of like when the Beatles were first coming, it was a very rough working class, heavily working class area, and I've got some friends who grew up there at that time, and it was literally like, it was like survive, like, I'm trying to think, there's a phrase, it's either you fight or you die, essentially.
Mm.
And that might be a harsh way of putting it. Maybe it wasn't that bad, but you come from a heavily working class area where there's fights and all that kind of thing, and like you say, she wanted to get out of that, and maybe she saw Julian as like, or Damien as you have in yours, as like the passport to prosperity, to find like, right, here's like my escape. I've got the job. Now I've got the boyfriend. Now I can go and have the life which I completely want. Everything's just perfect. It's
Mm.
perfect, and it's like, yes. And yeah, like you say, there's the signs. Yeah, I think the way that Jodie did it when she got in the, because it's like you're coming. So, or I could or I could not if you prefer. It's like
Yeah,
that.
he's suddenly very nervous. And what I find very interesting, without giving anything away, but when I mention this to audiences, they're always like, "Oh," is because it comes from the point of view of, yes, this play is hugely around sexual assault and rape, and I, love the advocacy around
Yeah.
that it brings so much attention to that. But I do think this is a huge story around race and class,
Hmm.
gender, um, and I do find it very interesting that um, when he finds out she's not a private school girl, he rapes her.
Mm.
And it's just those little things that you go, oh,
Yeah, it's
uh, little, yeah, it's very, they're, and that's what I mean. Those clues are in there when you start digging. And obviously, the more I've done it, the more I get to just continue to explore all that, the psychology behind it all, and again, his story. Like I say, his motives and his story. She was the top of.
yeah,
She was her and Adam were the best on the floor, and he had a Casey of a father who he needed to impress. So what was his? He needed power over her to get the room, and like there's a lot going on.
mm,
Power and um, uh, yeah, and when yeah, there's a lot.
exactly. Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you've read the book, you read the novel of it. Have you read? this one yet?
I have, but I don't think I did she go back? Did she go back? Did she go through trial again?
It's been a while since I read this last year, but from basically it's like an expansion. It's like the extended edition, really. Can anyone who's
I've read three-quarters of it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think in here in the book, no, not so much in the play, I think, but in here there's if memory serves, there's a passage where it's mentioned only in passing, but that Julian slash Damien, this has happened before. They
Yes.
said there were stories that there were I think there's a line in the book. There were whispers of other cases, but nothing really happened. Nothing came forward, but those stories were there regardless. And so you think, yeah, this is like you said, serial offenders. This has happened before.
It's it.
Sadly, he's got experience, and
Yeah,
it's
and
yeah,
it's a play as well. Right in the end, Adam indicates there had been another experience.
mm,
Not admissible, obviously, but yeah.
yeah. What does that? What does
So
that mean, by the way?
admissible,
And not admissible. What does that mean?
like it didn't get nothing really happened with it. So it didn't. I don't know whether she didn't take it any further or they
Yeah,
didn't have enough evidence to take it further. Uh, but
just
I guess.
it's like word of mouth, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they were friends, so I guess he knew, but
Mm.
yeah.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
this, and then talking about the her background, the violence of her brother and her mother being from that class, and again as an artist looking at where was the dad,
Mm.
and potentially there's different. She definitely just had a chip on her shoulder, and these are all things that I wonder. I'd love to have a chat with Suzie because I wonder if she's even thought about that.
Mm.
These writers make these stories, and I wonder how much they were conscious of all the layers they're putting into it, or is that stuff we uncover as well? And
Yeah.
to say I'm looking forward to Cynthia Erivo's version is an understatement because she's in the movie, right?
Oh yeah, of course. There's a film, isn't there? Yeah, yeah.
I think it's out next year.
Yeah, Cynthia. Oh God, she was in Wicked, wasn't she? What's her surname?
Yeah,
Cynthia.
Cynthia Erivo,
Yeah.
I just think she's incredible. So what she will bring and her artistry will reveal so much as well. So I'm
Uh,
very excited to see
yeah,
her.
it's gonna be good.
Tessa.
And Jodie's actually coming back. She's touring it again next year as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's going up and down the UK, and then she finishes in Liverpool. Funnily enough, and I'd say I tried to get tickets for that, but they just went like hotcakes. Gone. Yeah,
That's that's
I
great.
know. I know.
Um,
That's
I love seeing that. I love seeing her return to it because
mm,
I
mm,
think we can all feel the call that Tessa has on our hearts. So I think it does not surprise me that she
yeah.
was up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to actually see a live Q&A with Jodie a few weeks ago, actually, and yeah, it was on at the Adelphi Theatre over here in London. It's on the Strand, just by the Thames, and yeah, and she talked a lot about how well, she talked a lot about we've talked about Prima Facie, talked about 28 years later, which is what I haven't seen yet. I need to get around to that, but apparently it's very good. But yeah, she talked a lot about just the experience of Tessa, and I think a lot of them were like, "How did you learn your lines? How do you do all this, that, and the other?" And it's like, yeah, of course, those are valid questions, but yeah, I think she was excited to get back into it because now I think I remember her saying that Tessa feels more kind of fresher to her. Like there's a bigger picture in here now, up here, and of course in your body as well. And now
Yeah.
returning to Tessa, having been through that previous experience back in 2022, and just and she did the audio book as well. If anyone wants to do the audiobook, Jodie's the voice on that one as well. And yeah, so I suppose for yourself, really, what was it like coming back to Tessa after a solid year of? Well, I think it was about a year or so that you did it for. Well, anyway,
Well,
so
yeah, I
from
didn't
the run
really.
from last time.
Yeah, I think I had. I think I finished up in September or August last year, and then I started again in March. So I had a
Mm,
few months off,
nice.
but uh, I think you do to carry this show, you have to have it. have done your work and to have it so ingrained in you because you're up there. And I'm experiencing that even this year doing it, how it's what you create that you hold on to when you're out there by yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the other artists who have played her can relate that that's all you've got is what you've created in your mind and your heart. That is what you hold on to when you get out there and you're under pressure and there's no way out. There's no one else. You have to just dig deep, and it's live, and we're human, and we have hormones, and we have fluctuating energy. Like everything is, we're alive being ourselves. So with all, with like you mentioned earlier about nervous system, we've got a lot going on that influences a performance day to day. So, but returning to it, I think I continue to, because I've still got a bit of a journey ahead with this.
Mm.
It's just to continue to deepen, and like the things we've been talking about are things that I'm finding interest in, and allowing those things. And that's the work we do at home. And then you allow those things to exist. And then uh, when it comes to the performance, it's about letting that stuff go and trusting that it's alive in you. So I think your question around how was it coming back to her, I think all that was still alive in me. It was
Mm.
just my mind had been on other things over Christmas. Like you
Yeah.
take your mind for a while, but it's very much it's a shift of awareness back to my Tessa self and Tessa's world, and the people I've created. I'm like, just like an old friend you haven't thought of. You're like, oh yeah, that's how that's what Damien was like. That was, it was just reacquainting myself with the creations that I had made. And
Mm.
yeah, and then of course the performance side of it takes on,
Exactly. Yeah.
oh, takes on its own experience.
This might be a very vague question, but I'll ask it anyway. But what's it like when you're out there and it's just you and you're saying all these words? What's it like being out there in front of that audience, knowing it's just
Terrifying.
yeah,
It's terrifying. I'm not going to lie. You know, and it never goes away. The nerves never go,
mm,
they never go away. And you kind of just have to accept that, okay, because I think it's also adrenaline. Your body is aware you're about to go out in front of hundreds of people
mhm,
by yourself, and you have to deliver everything. So I think it's adrenaline as well. The body knows what's coming
mhm,
when your body starts to know what's coming, and it knows what it's about to do. So I think sometimes that nervous energy, I like to try and channel it. Like that's okay. It's just energy. It's just revving me up, and it's adrenaline. But to say I don't feel sick every time I step out, it would be a lie. And sometimes, like I say, it's alive and different every single night.
mhm,
I've learned a lot. I've learned about, my nervous system and looking after that and what happens when I don't. I'm learning about the brain and how I've been under a bit of personal stress this year with my mum's been in hospital. Um, I've seen how much the toll of that on my personal life has affected not the show itself, but just my experience of performing, because the body is amazing at doing everything it can to protect us. And what I've found this year particularly is it likes to choose the moment when I'm on stage to go, well, we think you've actually put us through enough, so now we can make you freeze or panic, or and so I've dealt with panic attacks on stage. I've dealt with
sure.
literally brain glitching and just not knowing and the
Mm,
audience would never know, but you want to know what it's like. This is probably the dark side of it.
yeah.
It also blows my mind what we can do, because you can be having these conversations in your mind, but the performance keeps going. It's quite amazing. And it's a director once said to me, you never want to get rid of that, because it's the part of you. It's a bit like a security camera. It's scanning the room. It's keeping you, in check of where you're up to. It's you need that part, but
Yeah.
you want to try. But then there's this a whole other part that exists as well.
Yeah.
And then, I think the energy of an audience is really impactful as well.
Oh, massively.
But a big thing with this show is, like I said it last time, you could hear a pin drop in every performance. There's never a moment where it's not that silent.
Mm,
And that's huge in itself because you realize that everyone is just um but learning to trust that they're engaged in the story, they're engaged in the storytelling. It's not about me. It's
mm,
about they want to know what's going to happen. And reminding myself, most people haven't seen it before. Um, so always keeping that fresh in my mind, like this
of
is the
course.
first time the audience has seen it, or um, yeah. So there's a lot mentally, I think. Yeah, you go through a lot mentally to just keep yourself. In that way, I find, particularly with solo shows, I think there's a lot of similarities between that and like being an athlete. The pressure that they go under, and then
Yeah, yeah,
make a mistake, having to just move on. You can't dwell on it. You just have to keep going.
yeah.
You don't have if you take a moment to sort of go, hang on, what happened? You don't have that. You've just got to keep going. And so
Yeah,
all those things. I mean, I'm continuously learning about it, but there's no greater education than actually just doing it and getting out,
exactly.
putting
Yeah.
yourself out there.
Did
Yeah.
you did you see Vanya, Andrew Scott?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
brilliant. Absolutely. I
I
saw it
love it.
twice in the cinema. I didn't I obviously that was
Same.
yeah, yeah, because
Oh, same. I was very tempted to go to New York to see it. Oh, to see it
oh,
live. Yeah, yeah. Oh, just amazing.
it was incredible. Yeah. I was lucky enough to speak to his understudy actually, Victoria Blunt. She's been on and she's coming back for part two actually next week. And
Oh, I have to listen. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, she talks a lot about sorry?
Study for that show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was understudy for that.
Oh,
Yeah, and we talked was it last year? Yeah, it was last year about pretty much similar what we're talking about now, like similar things like learning lines, going out there and stuff. And unfortunately, she didn't get a show in the run, but
oh.
because Andrew was just like he was just as she said, she's a comedian. She was like, yeah, he has the most fantastic immune system I have ever seen. And
Yeah.
it never faltered the entire run. But anyway, but
Yeah, yeah.
no,
Yeah.
actually, no. But for the record, actually, she gave the production company gave her a show, and they advertised it specifically. This is an understudy show. Andrew's not performing. This is her
Oh,
show, and she got one show in the West End, which I thought was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And
I would, yeah.
yeah, anyway, I bring Vanya up because I remember Andrew Scott gave an interview. I can't remember where it was, but he said when you're out there by yourself, and some people said to him, I think was it Vicky said to him? I can't remember. Someone said to him like, well, what if you mess up? What if you mess up a line or something like that? And he goes, listen, I mess this show up every single night, but I just carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say a wrong line every single night, but it's just me, so no one, I'm not reacting to another person going, "That's not the right line." No, but it's like
Yeah.
just do my own thing, and it's fine. You find a way back into it. Yeah,
And just finding and having that confidence in yourself, there's just I think you just learn so many other skills doing this type of performance because you have to have confidence in yourself that you
mm,
will hold it together, that you won't run off, that because your brain can go. I know mine has just had moments where I've just gone, you just need to get off. I just need to get off right now, like literal panic, going, I've just got to get off,
mm.
but you
Right.
can't. So I
Well,
can only imagine. I
there's nowhere to go. Yeah,
know, and I can only imagine how Jodie felt in the moment when she had to leave that Broadway production, the Broadway show. She had
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to make that decision. Must have, I can imagine during a performance must have been hard.
Scary.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I remember watching an interview with Andrew about Vanya, and something that resonated so much was he said that you are just in like a trance once you're out there. And he said there was a performance where there was a medical emergency, I think, in the audience, and the
Okay.
stage manager had to come on to tell him to stop. And apparently she was like, I don't know when to go on, like, because and in the end he had to she went on and he just squealed because you're so not expecting someone to be there or say anything. And
Yeah.
he, and I loved that because I was like, that would happen to me if someone walked on.
Yeah. You'd be like,
But it's not only just someone physically being on the stage with you, but just the where you go in your mind.
yeah, because
Have
like,
someone break that would be very that's like I'm not very good at pulling the lines of the show out of context. Like
mm.
when someone like just before I was trying to recall that line about Damien having a past experience. And I was like, what is that? Out of context because it's like it is. It's like a trance, and
Yeah,
I do think
it's like a roadmap, isn't it? Like a very specific roadmap
yeah,
you go through every night. But yeah, but I
yeah,
could,
and a lot of the stuff we've been talking about as well. I think is the work that we do as actors, and I do think there's a shamanic quality to it because the audience doesn't know a lot of this stuff.
mm,
Like with the stuff we're sharing now, the audience doesn't know that when they're coming in to watch the show. They get the performance, but I think as an actor, you need to know it, and
mm,
they can feel it. Uh, and I have great faith in that because yeah, one from the feedback I've received, but also from just what I feel. You can feel when something's landed and when it
mm,
hasn't.
yeah,
I feel that they feel like they've been through something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
hugely. Yeah, I think speaking of like things landing, I want to get on to talk about the nervous system and stuff today. I mean, and really, really want to delve into that. But before we do, just on a slightly lighter note, what dance routines did you pick for the pub scene? What were your
You know,
moves?
I just well, it's interesting you asked that because to flow on from what we've been talking about, which feels relevant,
Yeah.
I had a choreographer come in because I wanted it to just be quite free. But to be free, you have to know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like you
Mm.
can't.
Organized
And
chaos. Yeah.
yeah, so she came in and I did that, and it was just very wild and free. But it was really getting to it on my own. And what helped with that was what we were talking about before about what is this scene about? Like why is this in here? And what is this
Yeah.
about? What is Tessa? And I think for Tessa, that moment is just the drinking, because it's quite a bit of drinking throughout the show.
Oh yeah.
Drinking and like staying up and partying and just going wild is like letting off steam because she's holding it together so tightly that any opportunity she can just let it out. The sex on the table, the sex on the couch, the dancing, the drinking. It's just it's to let off steam. So I think because, and I believe that because the facade of what she's holding together of escaping her past,
Hmm.
she's forced hard to be in this world, and she's holding on to that with so much grip that those moments where she gets to let it out are really just steam. So it's wild and free and messy, and I
Mm.
get quite ugly with it, which people love. It's just, I love it. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not on a table. I'm not, we thought about all that, but a big part of our version of the show was to make it, because we're touring it, we had to really simplify it in terms of it had to be about the story and the performance and not the stuff so getting up on tables with lights, and it just wasn't practical for the version we were doing. So ours is very raw and gritty and just,
Mm.
but yeah, yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah, she's yeah. I never thought about it like that. She's
Yeah,
letting loose.
what's the intent? Yeah, what's the intention behind
Yeah,
the dancing? Uh,
yeah. Just going crazy. Yeah, just going
yeah,
like
yeah.
you know.
And why is that? Why do we do that? And when you think about it, you're like, oh, well, when you really just want to let it out, and you've
Yeah.
had a big day, or or you were stressed, or whatever it might be. That's when you really. So why? Yeah. And it's written, dancing really sexy now, like letting go of it all. It's in the dialogue, but it's actually just sort of going, okay, well, if it's in the dialogue and I'm letting go of, what am I letting go of? Like what am I holding on to that I need to let go? All those just sort of breaking it all down and
Yeah.
um,
And I think that was I don't know if you did this, but when Jodie did it, like she had like glasses and stuff on the table full of water, and it's like too many bottles of prosecco and four
Yeah.
tequila shots each, and she throws the water back and it goes along the wall.
I
Uh,
don't throw it back, I drink it
I do
because
okay,
it's
but
a moment to have a sip of water.
oh yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, that was very strategic with just, I think there's a couple of moments where I have a sip of water, and that's one of them, a shot of tequila. Too many
Yeah,
shots of tequila. Um,
yeah. Was it too many bottles of prosecco and four tequila shots each? Yes, and then you just get up and I remember in the NT live screen, they actually had these lanterns on her long table, and like it's in the official recording. I think she goes past one of them and she just knocks one of them, and it goes boop, 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 and it just stops. And you're thinking, God, if that had just gone bang, they would have already had a show stop during the recording or something.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
What a
but
great memory. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. Have you ever had? I mean, you mentioned that Andrew Scott, someone walking on, and you go, oh, I mean, have you been lucky that to not have a showstopper? Or have you had, or has that happened of last year or recently?
No, no, it hasn't happened. The only threat to that really is myself. It's myself wanting to go, like I said, all these other things that can come in and that we deal with. But no, I haven't had a, like I've said to you last time though, it's only me. There's no one else back there to be walking around or to for anything to happen. Thankfully, nothing's even happened in the audiences. We've always
Oh,
had
good.
people support the audiences, like I mentioned last time, which was really important to me. But in saying that, we haven't needed it. No one has needed to leave. But yeah.
That's good.
Mm.
That's good.
But you've always got to be, you can never, one thing I've learned this year particularly is you can never take for granted that you've got it. Oh, yeah, I've got this, never. You can never think, oh, you can never do that. Because like I said, it's live and anything can happen, and not
Yeah,
just anything externally, internally. That's your biggest demons are what's going on inside yourself.
yeah, yeah, big time.
That's what I've learned. Like the outside stuff, you can actually, someone uses their phone, you can handle that, but it's the internal stuff that
Yeah, it's like
that's
that.
a that's
Yeah,
a force speaking with, yeah.
yeah, it's almost like someone playing with their phone. That's child's play.
Yeah.
you just blank it out. Just blank it. So I'm not going to respond to that. Just carry on. Just keep doing your thing. You're going to be all right. But yeah, no. But I've had moments like that. I remember doing my first ever sort of like, well, I call it showcase. In there were some Asians in the crowd. This is about God, more than 10 years ago now. But I was doing a scene with somebody, and luckily this didn't last very long. But my brain just went, don't. And my brain just went, and I was like, what's the next line? My brain just went, I don't know. It was literally just nothing, nothing at all. And I was just, luckily, it only lasted about 0.23 seconds, but then suddenly went, oh, that line, sorry. Yeah, then it came back in, and I was like, inside, obviously on the outside, I was going, oh, yeah. But on the inside, I'm going,
And it
fuck.
can feel like on the
Oh,
outside, it's like half an hour, you feel like you've
yeah.
just been standing there. But yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's what
terrifying.
I'm saying. You can never, as well as you think you know it, that can always happen. Because like I
Mm.
say, other factors at play. Always,
Oh, of
how
course.
much sleep you've had. Did you have a drink the night before? Like there's many things that are at play that are, and as women we deal with hormones and just the fluctuations of that and how that affects performance, which no one ever talks about.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there's just a lot.
Yeah.
But in saying that, there is no greater high than getting through it
Oh,
and
yeah.
when you that you did that, like especially when you've overcome some really hard things during a performance. I think that those moments you're just like,
Yeah. I mean,
oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna, if you don't mind me asking you this, right? Was there one performance in particular where you look back on and you think, and when you got through it and you walked off stage just like, yes, yes, and it's like
Oh, all of them, all of them,
all of them.
all of
Okay.
them. Because something always comes up and you don't know where it's going to happen. You don't, sometimes you can say to yourself, oh, it's going well in your mind. And then the next minute, and you're like,
Yeah.
don't think this. Like, it blows my mind how your mind can be saying some things and then you carry on. But every time I walk off, I'm like, You did it, you
Did it.
did it.
Yeah,
And no one can take that away from you because only you know what you go through.
exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
only you know that you forgot your line.
Yeah.
No, but you know it, and you know that you found your way. And there's a lot of faith involved, and not faith, but we have faith, I guess, but just confidence and trusting yourself that you will figure it out. I think that's a component that I don't know if they're teaching in drama schools or what, but learning to trust yourself that if something happened,
I think
you
so.
will. And it's funny, as I've produced this myself, I think about producing other actors, and I think, gosh, it's really, we do put a lot of faith in actors that they have that trust in themselves that they'll keep going. I noticed that this year because we did a double header this year with Michael Hurst, who directed Prima Facie.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an incredible performer in his own right, and he did a show which he was on and then I was on, and I was backstage watching him. And but again, I thought, gosh, we do, yeah, directors and producers, we put a lot of faith in that artist will get through it and figure it out. I'm amazed at how they can actually take their hands off it and trust that
Mm.
and yes, it's our job, but yeah, it's building that resilience within yourself to go, whatever happens, I will figure it out
Yeah.
is is something, yeah. And I can't underestimate how the impact that has had on the rest of my life. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, for
like
sure.
I can do that. If I can do that, I can do this.
There's
Yeah,
nothing I can't do now. There's nothing I can't.
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
empowering. Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
That's
No.
that's why I think every performer needs to do a solo show at some point, because I
Oh,
just
for
think
sure.
to
Yeah.
learn those to learn those skills about yourself. uh, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah. And I think there's I'm not sure if you've ever been, but the Globe I think is a really good example of that. To stand there and think in front of, because like in the theaters that you went to, obviously you know the audience there, of course you do, but the lights go down and you're sort of performing to like not so much a pool of darkness, but like you see them there, but you can't see them, if that makes sense. But you're in the room with them. But if you go to somewhere like the Globe or like any kind of outdoor theater, like Region Airs, open up region, what was it called?
Yeah.
Open air theater in London, or you go to Shakespeare in the Park in New York. I'm not sure if you've ever done that at all, because I only go to New York quite a bit. But
No, I haven't. I didn't think of it in terms of lighting, but yes, you're right. You would see
yeah,
see the pictures.
you see
Yeah,
faces there, like as clear as I see you and you see me, and just looking at
yeah.
you, and you're delivering a line of Shakespeare, and then there's nowhere to hide, and
No,
obviously there's nowhere to hide
yeah.
in any case, but I suppose it just hits differently when the audience are literally right there. I remember I did a local production of The Crucible. We did it in the round, and it was this tiny, intimate little theatre. Remember the first night we walked out, and suddenly there's the audience, literally just like right there next to you. And I remember, look, I didn't have many lines, but hey, there are no small parts, only small actors. But I remember walking out thinking, and I just went, it's like Jesus,
Yeah.
it's right there, and it was just like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. But anyway, got through. You get used to it after a few nights, but it's that first
But
night you're like crazy.
like you say, nothing can prepare you for that other than doing it.
Mm.
I think that's the thing. You can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse till the cows come home, but until you put yourself under the pressure of a live audience, and or in your case, seeing them right there, you can. It's like again an athlete that trains and trains and trains, but it's the game under pressure. We find out there's a saying quote, we find out who we are under pressure. you
Oh,
know.
definitely,
And
definitely,
pressure makes diamonds. So we find out who we are under all that.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I think someone over here, there's a footballer over here called Alan Shearer. He said, "Nah, pressure's for tires, mate." It's like,
Yeah.
is it though? But I don't know,
But
because that's kind of dismissing pressure in some ways. But I don't know.
I
Uh,
think it's another thing about coming back to um, why you're there, why you're doing what you're doing, and
exactly.
having, and that's why this show it's sort of easy in that regard, because it's about something so much bigger. And I think, but you can find that in whatever piece you're doing. So I think if you've got that element in your creativity around and your artistry around finding what the story is in the room that you're
Mm.
telling, because it will exist in every human that we all have parts of us that story will resonate. So you're speaking to that part of, and so if you can make it about that, it's bigger than you, and I think that drives me a lot. A lot of audiences ask me, how do you do it? And how do you keep going? And I say, well, that for that reason,
Mm.
that that to quote the play, it's about every woman that, has come before me and the ones that will come after.
Yeah.
And you just, um,
Yeah. I
that
mean,
there's no bigger force than that.
yeah. I mean, I imagine that. I know we spoke about the voir dire moment last time, and just yeah, that scene in particular. I mean, yeah. I mean, do you still? I want to get onto the nervous system, but so many things keep coming into my brain. But do you still? How is that? I know you said last time that scene. I remember you said you can barely get it out. 1 in 3 women look to your left, look to your right. I mean, how is that? Do you still feel the same doing that scene now, or is it any
Yeah, and
different?
it's never, yeah, and it's never intentional. It's not like it's not an intentional, I'm
Oh yeah, no, no, no.
gonna squeeze this out. It literally, it's by that stage you've put yourself through it, and it's just it's so hard to get out, and uh, because I think the whole story comes down to that moment, uh, and because I think in that moment too, she's also realizing uh, what her new voice is. I think up until then she still didn't quite know. But that moment, I think, when she realizes that the law is not set up to support her, I think, and talk about all the history that we were talking about that. I think it all just comes to, you know,
Mm.
that moment. I think it's very loaded, that moment, and
It's big. It's big.
yeah, and the impact it has on the audience as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's just so loaded. It's so fueled with her history. It's like I can't escape. How am I here? I did everything I could to escape my past and escape that life, and I'm still here. There's just it's so loaded. One thing I have loved exploring with this, and I think it's what where she finds her real strength in the end is the theme of sisterhood. The young police officer. Um, she locks eyes with at the end, and doing it for that one young woman. All those things. It's sort of yeah. It's funny. The dialogue is so small. They're
Mm.
very few words, but by that point, you're saying so much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's big. Yeah.
And,
You mentioned.
she's written it like that. It's very, people say, how do you learn the lines? I said, well, it was very poetically written. It's like thoroughbreds.
Yeah.
It's not written in a really linear way where you can learn a chunk. Some bits are, but
Mm.
like a script, normally you go, right, I'm going to learn this chunk.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was actually quite hard to learn because it was written very poetically, and it's
Yeah.
one word is a line.
Yeah.
But it helped to really create. People ask, how do you learn the lines? And for me, it was like obviously reading, repetition, and all those practical, tangible things.
Hmm.
But it's having just such clear visualization of what you're talking about, the memories of the things you're talking about. Like that's the work we do, is we create those things. Like if I said, what did you have for dinner last night? You'd be able to tell me by recalling that memory. And so most dialogue is written in the future or the past tense. So it's a memory or a hope. Uh, and so if we can create that in our mind, you've got a solid memory. And I talked about this recently at a Q&A, because someone asked this, and I said I did a play before this called Hannah, and it was about a one woman, a mother who, the
Mm.
crux of it, away with her child basically. And I had envisioned that, I had created that experience in my mind, And recently I drove the road up north in New Zealand, and I had this like moment of like, oh, and then I had to remind myself, I was like, no, that you created that. That didn't actually happen. But I'd made it so real within myself, like we do when we worry. When
Mm,
we worry about things, it's very real, and it can make us have all sorts of emotions and experiences, and the body, how the body, responds to that. And that's what we do. We're just, that's what our imagination does. So using your imagination to create the world you're living in, and that is what helps when, you're out there and you fumble, or you're out there and you're like, ah, like your brain goes blank, like you said, and you're like, hang on, who am I talking to? Oh, that's right, the judge, and bring yourself back, because things knock you out of it for sure,
mm,
that's human, but constantly bringing yourself back. But it's that what you've created, and that's why I could work on this for the rest of my life, because just to continue deepening those things for myself, and
mm.
adding in your senses. What did he smell like? What did he, what did he take? What did he feel like? Just all those sense things that we know. If I talked to you about my husband, I'd be able to tell you about things in detail, because that's what we know about people. So it's using your imagination to create that. I hope I'm making sense, but
No, of course you are. Of course, yeah.
and then layer the lines over top of it. So the word thoroughbred isn't just a word anymore. It's a world, you
Yeah.
know? That one word, thoroughbred, is a world,
Mm.
of imagery, of senses, and yeah.
Yeah, no, everything you say makes complete sense. Our mind does a lot of things. Even the things that we remember are real and stuff, like when, say, if someone was rude to us or something, and you just remember it, and one thing I've learned to say is like, look, they're the asshole, not you. Okay, like just stop
Wait,
thinking. But well, one thing I do is like I think, what part of you thought that was a good idea to say that to me or to somebody else? Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Or understanding that the meaning you made of that is what you can control.
mm,
And that's what we are as storytellers. We're meaning makers. We get
mm,
given these words and we create meaning out of them. It's quite simple, really. We're just
yeah,
meaning makers. We make the meaning of the words that we've been given. And in a weird way, we, as actors, we get given the words first, whereas we should be given them last. Do you know what I mean? Like if you said
mm,
to me, okay, you're you're gonna play a character who these are her circumstances. And if you gave me those, this is her upbringing, this is her job, this is her financial life, this is her health, this is her everything, the things that make up a human. If I was given those details first, you would sit and, like we do when we give in a novel, we just want, our mind imagine, creates all that. But if
mm,
you were given circumstances first, and then you just allow that to work on you for however long, and then you got the words to put over that, the world is created.
mm. Yeah,
It's like if I asked you what you had for dinner, you would remember the experience, what you ate before the word. Do you know what I mean? And
mm,
then you'd go, oh yeah, you would see it in your mind
yeah.
before
It's like
the
image
word.
first and then words next. Yeah,
Yeah. And so
yeah.
it's I find that's and it's something I'm continuously working on, is not being, and the pressure as actors is is that we get the words first. And sometimes it's like you've got to learn the script for an audition tomorrow, and our brain panics and be like, I've got to learn the lines, I've got to learn the lines, and we forget to that, our authenticity comes from the world we create and the
Mm,
meaning we, like you just said, the meaning you make, because someone else could have had that experience that you had, or
mm.
and they just go, huh?
Yeah,
you know like
exactly.
we make the meaning of what happens to us. And
Yeah, exactly.
again and again, to quote, to go back to what I was exploring with Tessa, it's we make that meaning normally based on our history.
Mm,
So if you're someone that has uh I read something that recently was like, anger only things only affect us if it's alive within us. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I think yeah, I think I remember speaking to someone. I think it was it Brené Brown who said this? I can't remember, but I think it was her. But she said people only give you shit if you take it. You know,
If you take it, and if you
yeah,
and if you let it uh reveal something about the shit that's in you,
mm,
if you feel shit about yourself, then you're going to take that personally. Whereas someone that is confident and has so much self-esteem and so much self-belief, they can mirror that back to the person. They're like, oh, what is it in me that is bringing that out in you? Like, it's quite
yeah,
interesting. It
yeah,
only brings out what's already there. And that's
yeah.
just who we are as humans. Like, when no one has nothing, we've all
Oh,
got something,
no, everyone's got something. Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
God, that's brilliant. God, you're full of brilliant ideas, Cassandra. You really are. But
Oh, I feel like
yeah,
I'm butchering them all, but anyway.
yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And that's funny because someone who is assured of themselves, who recognizes when someone's being a dick to them, you just think it's like, look, and I think something I've learned is say, oh, I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm sorry that you are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that
Oh,
I'm sorry that you are. Yeah, obviously, you're not actually sorry, but you know what you mean. But you know what I
and
mean.
I mean,
But
and we
yeah,
do it naturally with children, and children are throwing tantrums, or we go, oh,
what's up? Yeah,
what are you, yeah, what are you, how are you feel, what is making you feel that way? How are it's never what we did. It's, yeah, that's a bit wonky, but bad example. But you know what I mean? It's like you go, oh, well, what, yeah. And sometimes you can just be the brunt of someone's bad day or bad moment, and you realize that
yeah,
you might just be the person they finally took it out on that day, but all day they're taking shit from da 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 da, and then they
yeah,
bump into on the street, and you're the one that cops it, you
yeah.
know.
You're the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, yeah.
Not very well understanding that, but I'm human too. In the moment, I'm like, what? I'm very sensitive to what I had.
Mm.
Sometimes the feedback, sometimes the questions I get asked after the show, I take really personally, and I have to,
Oh
I
wow.
have to take the time to process, hang on, you've evoked all these things in these people, and what you're getting is, that's why my director was like, you're very brave to put yourself out there after a performance like this, because it stirs shit up. And then to go out there and help people hold that, it's quite an unusual experience.
Mm.
And I have to remind myself of that sometimes. It's like and I'm naturally very, like, bubbly and chatty. And so I think
Yeah.
a friend said to me recently, I'm like, gosh, they really come at me with some stuff after, and they said, yeah, but or they don't know you. They know Tessa, and you've just charged home this, war cry, call to action to them, and and then you come out in yourself and you're
Yeah.
like, hello.
Hi.
And so it takes them a minute to go, oh, okay, I can talk to but again, I have to try and tell myself, what is this bringing up in them? I'm just I'm just me. However I have made you feel is actually a reflection of you. It's not me.
Yeah. It's almost like
But
they're
it's
asking Tessa. They want to speak to Tessa because there they
or
are in front of you. Yeah.
or they've just got or even Tessa's brought up something in them that
Mm.
they um but yeah, it's a hard one to learn, but when you realize that other people's reaction is always coming from their own experiences,
Mm.
it's quite frustrating, but hard to do. It's a lifelong lesson, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough lesson to learn, and ultimately, it's just know that that's a reflection of them, and not when someone's rude to you, it's a reflection of them. It's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
don't take it personally. Just I know it's easier said than done, but just it takes a lot of training to not take it personally.
but
But
it's the only thing we can control. You can't control what someone else does, all we
exactly,
can control is our response to it. And if we start to take everything personally, then you're just going to be fighting all the time,
yeah,
defending
no,
yourself. But I think if you can kind of sit back and just uh, be understanding of going, oh wow, that they're having they're having that reaction. Yeah,
mm,
yeah, it's a hard one to learn, but I think it's a constant, because we're
for
all
sure.
triggered by. and like I said with Tessa earlier, we're all walking from our unmet needs. So if we're walking from a need of always never feeling like we never stand up for ourselves,
Mm.
if someone's an asshole, that'll get to us more because it's triggering that like wound in us that's like, damn it, like why does this happen every time? I never think about what I could say back or whereas, I love this about America, a lot of Americans, they're just really straight up. They'll just say something back, and I think New Zealand and England, we're very reserved and we
Oh,
don't walk around sort of
definitely in the UK for sure.
yeah, we don't really have that on the tip of our tongue all the time. So often I know I am, you're always taken back when people are like that
Yeah, you're like,
because
yeah.
yeah, it's not, we don't expect people to be rude. We don't expect to be sort of so I don't think we walk around with those things ready to, ready to bounce back with. But whereas Americans, I think, have got that, they're a bit more,
Mm.
you
It's like they have a response just locked away.
yeah,
I think.
they're just a bit more, they
Yeah,
banter.
they're very good. They're very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
But yeah, I think that's a good segue. Let's talk about the nervous system. It's one thing I really love to talk to you about today. So I think it's very true. I think it was, who said it? Was it Bruce Lee? I was going to say it was Bruce Lee. Said that, or someone like that, said that, when you're speaking about yourself, always speak positively because your body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what isn't real. And of course, in this play, Tessa goes on one hell of a journey. She has that awful incident with Julian/Damien. And just yeah, and like yeah, what new discoveries have you found this past year? Or how do you look after your nervous system now?
I love that you're asking about this because I think it's something that performers, it's not spoken about enough.
Mm.
And I know I'm always looking for, interviews with actors. Have they mentioned this? Like, I went and saw Nicole Scherzinger in Sunset Boulevard when I was there in December.
Mm.
And look, obviously she's one of many, many, many performers doing those shows nights after nights after night. And that's what I look for in interviews of like, well, where are they speaking about how they look after themselves and how they maintain doing 8 shows a week? Like that would be my question for for Jodie would be like, gosh, how did you do it? How did you look after yourself? And
Yeah.
it's those things that I'm really interested in. Like, how did you look after you? And I think I did read something actually about her. She did speak out about it. So it's a great question. I think it's something that needs to be talked about more. And I'm very passionate about wellness in general, but with going through this, it's opened that up even more because you're right. The body doesn't know the difference. The mind knows that this is protected, but the body doesn't, and your nervous system for sure doesn't, because evoking all those responses within yourself. And your imagination's going, just like we said before, when you worry, you can get yourself into all sorts of states.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you're doing when you're performing. So you're taking yourself to all sorts of places. And it's, to be honest, it's something I'm continuously working on. And look, maybe it's my Achilles heel. I don't know. I haven't really spoken enough to other performers to know. And I think especially it seems I don't know what it's like in the UK, but to be doing a show for this long and a show is quite unheard of here. So there's not really anyone, to bounce that off. I'm having to figure it out as I go along, but there's a lot. Like there's the physicality of actual hormones in the body, so adrenaline, cortisol, all that stuff that gets released when we're nervous or under pressure or putting ourselves under stress, even if it's mentally. That's a very real chemical response in the body that creates nausea, creates that tingly feeling in the body. Like that's a very real thing. So learn to get that out. Like exercise gets it out, screaming gets it out, dancing gets it out. Like I think Jodie maybe danced after. I think her and her stage minute. I think maybe danced.
There's a brilliant video of her in Georgia before every show. Yeah.
What a gift that would have been for her to just have that just did that with her, because so those things just gets it out of the body. There's a like somatically we have to get it out, and I
Mm.
notice I don't do that because I feel quite nauseous the next day. I'm like hungover. You feel hungover. Like, I guess that's the best
Yeah.
way to describe it, is
Yeah.
the body feels hungover because it's been flooded with all these chemicals and you just haven't got them out. So yeah, exercise, movement's probably the best way. Vocally, you'd laugh. I actually went recently. I took my daughter to a theme park here, and I'm normally a chicken on rides and stuff, but
Yeah.
chose to just jump on. And actually, that was the best release. Getting on a roller coaster and screaming.
Yeah.
I
Ah!
was I slept like a baby that night because I was like, there was obviously so much of that energy that just needed to get out. So that was a great way of getting it out.
Yeah.
Singing.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so that's very good. I see a naturopath because, you deplete yourself of, all the your B12, and I take a supplement that is like for my adrenal glands, so there's things I work with her just to sort of replenish and nourish myself. I try and, I avoid all pharmaceutical stuff. I'm not, I don't,
Yeah.
sometimes
And
I
me.
wish,
Yeah. Me too.
sometimes I wish, my dad says to me, you just need to take a beta blocker. And like, I'd be too scared about that. And
Uh,
so I avoid all that. So I think, so that, uh, sleep, and just, I think, and just riding sleep, like just all the things that you keep well naturally. But I think knowing that you've got to really up those things,
mm,
when you're doing something like this, and then, and just being very, I think the biggest thing is being aware that it exists. So I think whenever I think I'm fine, I don't need to, it creeps up on you, and it can have a delayed impact. Like it actually has recently. Like I had a bit of a burnout recently, and I
mhm,
was like, oh. But again, that I think was because part and parcel to what I was going through in my personal life. So again, those things make a difference too. Like what's going on in our lives that is creating extra stress or extra turmoil, that your reserves are lower, to your coping mechanisms are lower.
mm.
Um, this year particularly, I've been doing the show on top of everything else, and I've noticed it in terms of my nervous system. And then, yeah, just understanding you need the rest, understanding you don't have to, go, 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 go.
Mm.
And
So it's a marathon, not a sprint, isn't it?
yeah, and knowing that you are running a marathon every night by doing this show. And I think probably one of the things I am guilty of is underestimating the toll this show takes. Because you figure out you can, I learned I could do it. Oh well, I can do it. And then I sort of, um, I think I underestimate the toll it takes, and then I add in all these other things around it. Yeah, so trying to just being kind to myself and going, you're holding a lot. You're
Mm,
holding a lot, and then you're kind of holding an audience's experience in your hand as well. So I'm working on things. The other thing, I'm having to explore now is, like I mentioned earlier, like hormonal, our hormones for women, our hormones fluctuate so much as well, and that impacts
mm,
our performance and our nervous system, and our reserves go up and down. Like, so being aware of that, and and not just thinking that that doesn't have an impact, because it does. And I think a big thing is actually just being aware of it all, and being kind to yourself and supporting yourself accordingly to what you're going through. I was ready, I've got a little bit of a break at the moment, and I needed it, and I was ready for it. And so, because I have actually, the show's going on tour again in March next year so basically I've pretty much done all the North Island of New Zealand,
mm.
um, but it's going on a tour for a month in March next year, and it'll be nearly 30 shows in 30 days across the country. So it's it's you get to a venue, pack in, do the show, pack out, go to bed, wake up, drive to the next venue, do it again for 30 days. So I have done it before for another show, and it is a it is Mount Everest for an actor, for an artist, but
Wow.
also rewarding because you get to get it it's an incredible organization, Arts on Tour, and it gets art to communities that don't normally get it. So I am so excited to take this show to them because I know the impact it has, and to get it to people that have never heard of it, never seen it, is very exciting. But I'm already preparing for my health for that, because I know the toll that will take. Yeah. Yeah. Is there any specific things that you wanted to know about
Yeah,
that?
I suppose just I think you've already explained it all there, but just when you walk, I suppose really like when there's a moment when you walk off stage, and like we said earlier, you walk off and every night was like, yes, we did it. But
Yeah.
like sometimes if you walk off and then like the adrenaline's just going insane. I mean, obviously, like when you walk off stage in general with a company, the adrenaline's going because
Yeah.
I remember coming off stage after one show I did at drama school, and there was a huge cast of us, and like I said, I was this kind of little bit part in it. But then again, like I say, there are no small parts, only small actors, so I made the most of it. And you walk off stage after that, and you're just like, whew. But when it's
Yeah, that's
just,
why.
but when it's just you,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what's
Yeah.
that feeling like?
Yeah, it's for that reason I do like the Q&As afterwards and I tell the audiences this because it gives me a bit of a chance to debrief with them. And I say to them, look, normally I just come off and I'm by myself and I'm like, okay, that was that. And then you got to try and go to sleep to do it the next day. Um, I remember watching the making of A Star Is Born, and
Mm,
Bradley was talking about how he really wanted to capture the symphonic change of when he was on stage playing with all the crowd roaring,
yeah,
and then the symphonic shift of when he gets in a cab and he's in
yeah,
a hotel by himself. And he did capture that in the film beautifully.
he did.
But I love that because it's very real. And look, obviously the show's not to that level symphonic sound wise, but I can relate to that just energetically. You go from just and even just symphonically your own voice by the end of that show, you're roaring. Well, I'm roaring. And so to then just quiet, you've generated all that energy both physically and vocally in your body that your body sort of reverberated. So then to suddenly just sit in nothing is trippy, it's like, oof. Um, but again, I think just being aware of it. I mean, I have my little, I have, I like to contemplate things a bit or think about things a bit, and but yeah, but then also letting it go and trying to go to sleep and to
Mm,
wake up over again. But yeah, I do miss not having you know, a
yeah.
cast or even a crew. I don't even have a crew to share.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'll have a drink with the venue that I'm at, and that's always nice because
yeah,
normally I'm playing, so you get to see. So that's nice as well. And but massage is great. I get a massage, like just things,
yeah,
anything that sort of works it out. But yeah, probably movement's the biggest one.
yeah. It's
Um,
and it's underrated as well when people literally just go like before an audition. It's like, yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah, and a good warm up. And
yeah,
you mentioned before, which made me think of this, we think about before and after, but there's also moments, like I said, I've had panic attacks on stage and
I mean,
coping with
I
those.
can't imagine what that's like. That's insane.
But coping with those, all your resources, you're pulling from every resource you have in those moments. And it's only happened a couple of times, but
Yeah,
it's a couple of times too many for me.
yeah,
But in those moments, you're pulling on the resources you have of like your breath. I was like, come on, you just got to breathe. You're talking too much. You're literally like trying to just suck in some air, a bit more air. Just breathe, slow it down, just take some breaths. Because you're in the moment trying to calm yourself down,
yeah,
like you would if you were like, but and then using it. Like sometimes I'll go, right, if you can just get to this point, then you can use it, then you get to channel that energy. But right now you've got to breathe and hold it together. And once you get here, you can let it out. And um, so a big thing about a director said to me once, a solo show really is you're holding the energy of the audience in the palm of your hand and you're manipulating it. And so you're doing the same with your own. You're like, okay, I need this energy right now, and then I can move it into that. Like, having a panic attack and then being able, if I could get to the dance scene, then I can shake it out and let it out in that, or whatever, yeah. I think it's the awareness. You can, like I said before, you can never underestimate that you are a live, living being
Hmm.
that is going to have a different experience. And
Exactly.
the, thankfully, I think the rehearsal and the practice and the craft holds the story and the show together. But yeah, you've also got yourself to deal with. And we're not robots, we're
No,
humans. And I
no.
remember Jodie saying, I think, in terms of where she, sometimes the emotion hits at certain different places, and
Mm,
can't often, and I know that myself, sometimes you can think, oh, it needs to be that here, but sometimes it doesn't come there.
no.
And I think particularly with this show, it can ebb and flow and build and come out in places that you sometimes least expect it. But that's, to me, that's more authentic. To the experience I'm having as Tessa that night versus, right, she's going to cry here and it's going to be this and it's going to be that. You have your moments to hit, of course, but there's also something, again, bigger energetically moving through you that when you add in that element, it's quite a beautiful, uh, um, it's a beautiful element to performance that I think if we can use it to our advantage versus trying to, like I was saying with nerves, if we can use them versus, and I say that from a very, I know it's easier said than done because when you're standing there and you're like, ugh. Um, but yeah, if we can try and use all those things to our advantage, it takes the fear away from them because we're not scared of them anymore. We're like, okay,
Mm,
nerves, you're going to be there. How can I not be scared of you, but and welcome you? And go, right, I'm going to welcome you as the energy that I need to drive this thing.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah. And I feel like we were talking before we came on, and I want to get this story in as the Bryan Cranston story we talked about just before we came on. And I think he gave this interview at the Actors Studio in America. I can't remember, where is it? Pace University. I think it's in New York. I think, and hopefully that's right. But he told this story that for anyone who's watching, anyone watching Breaking Bad or just started right now, just sorry, slight spoiler ahead, guys. So just know now. So this is in series two. Jesse, who's Walt's like partner in crime, has got himself a girlfriend called Jane, and she dies in series two. And there's a moment where Bryan Cranston's character Walter White comes into the bedroom and he's trying to wake Jesse up, and without realizing, he pushes Jane onto her back, so she's lying like this. And both of them, Jesse and Jane, have just done heroin. And of course, anyone who's done, apparently, when you've done a drug like that, is to make sure you sleep on your side, because apparently, if you sleep there, then you could potentially choke to death on your own vomit because you're not aware the drug has knocked you out that much. You're not aware of dying. Essentially, it's scary. But anyway, she starts choking to death, and he goes to try and save her, but he doesn't because the character's motivations and stuff. That's all I'll say. But he said, when I did that scene, I looked down, and then suddenly, and he started crying in the interview, and he said, suddenly I saw the face of my own daughter in her place. And what you see in the actual cut of him crying and putting his hand over his mouth like this, and the tears falling, is him seeing his own daughter. And he was just like, and it choked me up completely. And afterwards, they said cut, and apparently just other cast members who went to watch that scene that day just ran up to him and just gave him a hug like straight away and said, "Are you okay?" And he was like, no, I'm not okay. And he also said in the interview that sometimes what civilians don't realize about what we do is that sometimes we have to pay a price, and it's a huge price sometimes. And like yourself, like doing this show every night and also traveling around and doing all this stuff, and doing the Q&As afterwards and then driving all the way home. And honestly, I take my hat off to you, Cassandra, I really do. But we have to pay a price sometimes. We see things, and and you never know what audience reactions you're going to get either. I'm going to tell this story again. I've told this quite a few times on here now. So when I was at drama school, the play I did was called Widows, and I played a character called Alexis who got. Whenever I was on stage, I was either getting verbally abused or beaten up. It was we had a whole fight, your stage combat scene and everything, and I didn't think it'd be a problem. I didn't think it'd be a problem at all. When my mum who came to see it, and afterwards I said, "Oh, so what did you think?" And she looked at me and she goes, I never want to see that happen to you again. and so from now on, I was just like, and I said, no, Mama, it's fine. It's fine. It's safe. It's safe. Look, I didn't get hurt. Don't worry. It's all rehearsed. It's all okay. She was like, I don't bloody care. She was like, and then so from that point onwards, if anything, if I'm in a film or in a show or anything, then I have to spoil it for her essentially because she can't see that happen to me. She said, I can't watch that happen to you. Like, and if I'm doing something really, really out there, and she said, I'm sorry, like, I won't come and see you. I can't watch that happen to you. I can't. And I think,
She
obviously,
must
like,
be doing a wonderful job to make her feel so feel so deeply about it,
well,
she must see you going through it, and
yeah. I tell you, it's the greatest compliment I've ever had. I know it's from my mum, but it's
it
something.
is great because if she sees that as being real, she knows you and she knows if you're pretending. And
Mm.
that's the thing. I want to just see humans up there doing that. I mean, my dad, he came on tour for me a couple of times, and
Oh yeah,
uh, he's the same though. He said it's too hard for me to watch that night after night.
yeah.
And I've had to have the same conversations with technicians, and because a lot of them it's a heavy subject to be
Hmm.
dealing with night and most of them find their way and realize they learn their own hacks of how to cope. They focus on the next cue when things get a bit heavy, and so yeah, it's very real, and it does take a toll. And I just think actors are just the bravest. It's one of the old, isn't it the oldest art form and job?
I think so. Yeah.
So inspired. I'm sure yeah, I think it came from London, but we've got that Diva exhibition here at the moment on
Okay.
it. Yeah. And it's all about um, actresses and opera singers from, the 1800s to today. And I loved it. I was so moved because reading around reading about Sarah Bernhardt and Eleanor Duse and just these great actresses that they to be a woman and to be performing in those times, and often they started their own theatre companies and were just touring. There's something really, I just connected with that so much, and all of them really had such a passion for advocacy. They were part of movements and they used their art to do that, and I think
Mm.
that's um but throughout history as well, the toll it's taken on certain artists, some of the greats we've lost because of the toll it's taken. And
Yeah. Right.
yeah, even when we lose great artists, it's like it's still just we're not talking about it enough,
Mm.
the mental toll it takes. And I think that's why I'm in my 40s now, and I am glad that I think I've chipped away at things for a long time, for my whole life. But sometimes we have a dream of what we want our careers to be or things to happen. But I think you also having a bit of faith that things happen when you're. I'm glad that I'm where I'm at now at this stage of my life. I'm glad I'm not doing this in my 20s when I didn't have the inner resources to be able to look after myself, and just the awareness of the things I do now. And Um, yeah, and like I say, I just don't think it's spoken about enough. We're not talking about it. We're not, people aren't talking about, okay, well, how are you looking after yourself? And um, it's just sometimes I think it's the world we live in that we just like, you just got to go that hustle mentality. And I think, that real, hustle and grind um, but even like what you're saying about, my nervous system, a lot of the past couple of weeks with just healing that has just been actually to be around art myself, this exhibition was amazing, and just absorbing, staying in my world a bit and realizing that, yeah, there is a toll to that, but this is the world you get to be a part of because of it.
Mm.
Not succumbing to just social media and oh, everyone's doing that. It's just like just staying in your lane and staying connected to the work that we're doing in the world because there's so much noise, like we said earlier, there's so much noise
Yeah.
pulling us directions, and then you've got to understand that if we're going to do things that put this much impact in the world, you need to restore that as well. But sometimes we've got to, talking about advocacy, this play has taught me we've got to be our own biggest advocate for ourselves as well, because no one's doing that for me. No one's here going,
Yeah.
right,
Big time.
how are you looking after yourself and how, like they might ask how I'm doing it, but no one's no one's at my door with a meal, you know what I mean? So we have to be our own biggest advocates as well.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
So we can sustain ourselves,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You mentioned about if it's okay to ask this, but you said you had a bit of a burnout, I think, in the last stretch of the tour. But how did you get through that?
Well, like I said, it came on, it showed up through, and like I say, it came up because of some things in my own life that has taken a toll on myself and my family. And so,
Mm.
uh, as much as performing actually was a lifesaver in a way because it allowed me to just enter another world for 90 minutes. The impact that what I've been going through has had on my life showed me in those moments the toll that it's taken. And sometimes it creeps up on you. So as much as I'm aware, sometimes it still creeps up on you and so it showed up, it showed up in an internal panic attack, which no one knew about, but I got through it. But
Bless you.
thank you. But so yeah, that freezing a little bit, like my mind just, and that is a stress response. Your brain, if it's overwhelmed, will shut you down,
Yeah.
like it does. Like Tessa talks about in the play, in a sexual assault, we go, why didn't we fight? Why didn't we? Because our body will freeze to cope.
Mm.
And that happened a couple of times on stage. My body, like you, for a second, but in that second, it felt like forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no one knows, but you know.
Yeah.
And it's just enough to spook you. It's like a ghost going boo, and you're like,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and I had to sort of be a little detective and go, why is that happening? It's never happened before. Why is that? And break it all down and go, okay, hang on, what's going on in your life? What's going on? What has caused this? And I think for that moment, it just was, I think, my brain going, right now, you've pushed me too far. And in this moment, I'm going to freeze you. Just the problem. We need to shut you down.
Yeah. The body's going like enough,
We
enough.
had had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thankfully I got through it, but I realized I was like, I need a break.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I know, I know now how to bounce back, and I know now how to, that you do bounce back, and that it takes a bit of just effort and
Yeah.
mindfulness, gentle with yourself, and you know all those things we've been talking about, and just doing them. I think
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
very, oh, I don't want to do it. I just want to like blow it out and hope it all goes away. But you've got to be quite proactive with healing the body and go, right, no, this energy needs to move. My body needs to feel safe again. So how do I do that? And sometimes it's gentle movement, not going out for a run or not like pushing weight. Sometimes it's like, actually, like this week I went for a swim in a pool that I hadn't done that since I was a kid. Um, just did some laps in a pool, and I was like, wow, that intuitively that's what I felt like, and just letting the water wash away with. So, all those things, just being quite intuitive with what your body needs. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's brilliant. Just keep the nervous system calm, and obviously, again, easier said than done. But just you'll find it's just simple things like just breathing, or just going for a nice long walk or something, just to
Well,
keep it
the
intact.
nervous
Yeah,
system to regulate itself needs to feel safe
yeah,
as well. So we can say that, well, I'll just stay calm. But if you got a lot going
yeah,
on
yeah,
and you don't feel safe, so I think for
yeah,
me, particularly in that moment in the show, my brain and body just went, I'm no longer safe because you keep putting me in these stressful situations, that we're done.
We're so
So
done here.
to create safety within yourself, it's
Yeah.
not just safety, it's going, okay, how can I feel safe? Maybe that's avoiding your phone, because your phone can be very triggering, like whatever it might be. Safe with the energy of the people you're around. I find that sometimes the first thing I need to do is retreat a little bit, because I am naturally very bubbly, and I'm very giving and nurturing. And sometimes I find when I'm burnt out, I need to just give that to myself, because I just don't have the capacity to, in those moments when I'm literally burnt out, to do that. So just what makes you feel safe? And sometimes it's like, okay, I just need to be in my own energy and help restore that before I go back out in the world. And I like my husband's a basketball coach, and we talk a lot actually about the things that we do, the work that we do, in terms of we put ourselves out there and expend a lot of energy, but we're actually naturally very private and need that time to retreat to be able to go and do things. And I don't know how people are creating content all the time, and in this world digital, we're just digital dementia, because we're just consuming so much all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you've just got to slow yourself down and go, right, I would rather create one piece of something that's authentic, even if it's a post, whatever you do, I don't know, a piece of
Yeah.
art or whatever it is, but doing stuff with intention. It's like junk food, right? You'd rather have a wholesome meal than live off.
Live off crap. Yeah.
Yeah, so just supporting yourself and the people you're around, and sometimes if you don't have the people, but being yourself, just being like, right, I just need to be on my own right now and refuel before, so I have something to give.
Yeah, exactly.
And it comes back to what we talked about earlier, is like realizing how much you do give in the show. I think I think because it has become such a normal part of my life now, I have forgotten how much it probably takes, and then, adding it in, the things life has thrown me this year is, it's just showing me. But we get through it, and
Exactly.
be proud of. And I'm
Yeah.
still whenever I ask myself, do you have more in you to give this? It's always a yes. I'm done. And I think as soon as I am, I will stop. But yeah, with the film coming out, I think that's going to put a pause on a lot of public. I'm not sure when the tour is in the UK, but I think they're focused.
Yes, next year it's till when I think it starts in January, then it finishes in March. Yeah, end of March. Jodie goes to Liverpool. Yeah, so by March, end of March next year.
Yeah, so I think I'm really looking forward to touring while she's touring as well.
Yeah.
Momentum that will be around the play, around that'll be really exciting, and I'm proud to be carrying that torch here, and potentially some Australia dates. So, a new little venture for me. So we will see.
It's on enemy territory.
I know. I'm excited to experience the energy of a different.
Yeah, of course.
Cities, different. And again, my intention is just to get it to as many people as I can, and then I know the film will obviously blitz that reach as well. So
of course. Yeah.
I'm proud to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Cassandra, you've been so generous with your time, and like last time, thank you so much for just being, obviously, for not only for your time in the evening now for you. It's probably getting a bit late now. What time is it now in New Zealand? Okay, so I mean, thank you again for just coming back and just being so open and just so. I mean, I've had so many things for today we haven't got to, but hey, we'll discuss them. We'll discuss them again another time. And
Part three.
Part three. Let's do it. Yeah, we'll check back in after your next tour next year.
So. I love chatting, and I really I love what you're doing, putting this, putting this all this stuff out there. It's
Yeah.
the content I love listening to, all the behind the scenes stuff and how people do what they do. I think it's
Yeah, yeah. It's just I've just always been fascinated by it, like how, particularly when I see something that's just like wow, I think how have they done that? How do they do it? And that's, I think that's
yeah.
a common theme on here. I think just a couple more things left for you, just two quick things. So you said you're going back on tour next year, with Prima Facie and stuff. So that's with the New Zealand Theatre Company again, right? Or is
Yep.
that with? And so people can just check on the website for tickets and stuff. Yeah. So yeah,
Um, their March tour will be with Arts on Tour as well. But yeah, I will have it all over the New Zealand Theatre Company, and yeah. I think there's a few more school shows sort of in the pipeline as well
oh,
because
good, nice.
which is I love getting them getting that to young people. I'm actually in the process as well of creating. I actually had a meeting about it today, but creating some resources uh, to some tangible resources for people as well. Because what I realized is the information that I seem to keep sharing with audiences, uh, people are hungry for. So just creatively finding ways as well to
Yeah.
create things be a tangible use for people as well. So working on that. Yeah, it's really taken a life of its own, this show. But and
Yeah.
I've just met incredible people and such incredible organizations doing work in this field. And it's like like everything, we've just got to keep pushing the needle forward, not backwards. That
Exactly.
we've only got to look to what's going on in the world to see that there's a lot going backwards. So we've got to
Yeah.
continue to fight and to continue to be a part of change.
Change for sure. And I think, yeah, definitely for next time when I get on to some of the work that you're doing with like the charities and stuff we mentioned. And how do you say it again? To com how do you say it? Sorry?
Or Tokomai.
To talk on my, yeah, that's something we're going to talk about next time. And
Yeah.
yeah, I want to talk about, yeah, some of the questions here about vulnerability and what happens next. But hey, look, we'll save all that for next time. So,
I
but
love that we can get this long and we still have so much to talk about. It's great. I
I
love
know,
chatting.
yeah. Honestly, yeah, we could obviously I could have you here for another 2 hours, but honestly, obviously it's getting late in the night for you now, so I'll let you go and enjoy
A
your
long
evening.
podcast as well for people to tune into, but yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love these long haul conversations. Yeah, but
Uh,
and just actually, I've just got. Sorry, I have got just one more now. I've got two to very very quickly. So, do you think after the last tour next year, obviously that might your answer might change between now and then, but when you're finished next year, do you think Prima Facie? Do you think that'll be it?
I think because of the theatrical release of the film,
Mm,
that's going to put a pause on anyone performing it.
yeah, sadly, yeah.
But that's okay because I'm sure the film is going to be incredible.
Mm,
But yeah, so I think it's healthy for me to know that there is an end date now, actually,
yeah,
because I think I would keep going for as long as I can. So I want to pack in as many as with knowing that I want to fit in as many as I can between now and March, April next year.
for sure. Yeah. And finally today, which is a closing question, slightly different for part two guests this time. So, what makes you happy?
Oh, oh wow. My family, my family, my daughter, um, uh, raising her in a way, seeing her grow and be, uh, how do I put this into words? But I've been thinking about it a lot actually lately in terms of uh, giving, you know, giving her seeing her educated, seeing her aware of the things that I didn't know about, and just seeing how, you've created something different in the next generation brings me a lot of joy. And just daily, I think what brings me joy is doing the hard things, doing the things we don't want to do every day. It's a weird thing to be happy about, but those are the little wins every day of, when we do things that we don't think we can do, when we um when we stay true to ourselves, when we go, I'm going to do that, and we follow through, those things make me happy. Whether it's, oh, I got to the gym today, or I didn't want to do that, but I did that. I got up early. I didn't want to, when we do all those little micro habits throughout the day, those things make me happy. I sit there and I go, oh, I did it. Because what I learned from this show was, you talked about that moment afterwards when you go, yes, I did it. And I've thought a lot about how do you create that in daily life so you can practice that muscle of, and what it is, it's doing the hard things. It's doing the things that make you go, and you do it anyway. And that could be they can be little things. They don't have to be solo shows. They can be little things like jumping into the ocean, or, they following through when you don't want to do something, getting up a bit early. Like, it can just and it's that I think that brings me joy, because it's you're constantly bettering yourself, and you're constantly staying true to yourself. And my biggest goal always is to go to sleep with a clear conscience and just know that, I did my best today. And I live with a very grateful heart. I'm very grateful for I live, I've had to work really hard on fostering a very optimistic mindset. So I cherish that very deeply, because it was hard learned, it wasn't given to me. I had to really foster it within myself. So gratitude and just the simple things, honestly. The simple things give me a lot of joy.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, these big things that, doing the show, those are all micro moments, and they're incredible. And but it's also, I find such magic in the little things.
Yeah, it's the little things that mean a lot, and they go the furthest, don't
they? The little things that make up our lives. And just seeing what my mum has gone through this year, and just exploring mental health on that kind of level, has made me see that as well. Like, just, how it is those little moments that make up a life. And if we can find joy in the little things, that's what makes up our lives. This show will be a moment in my life in the end, but it's the things I do every day that bring me the most joy, and I'll remember it with fond memories. But
fantastic.
And having a voice and using your voice for something, that's brought me a lot of joy. And it was I kind of knew, no, I didn't realize the impact. I knew it had something, the show, but I didn't realize the voice I would find within myself. Someone asked me the other day, what do you think Tessa would be doing now? And I said, I think she would be doing this. I think she would have become an advocate for sexual assault, for changing the law, changing the legal system, fighting for change, fighting for women's rights, and a lot of the things in the play. I like to think that she would be doing that.
Yeah, funny enough, that's a question I've got for next time. So more on that to follow. But exactly. No, we'll delve more into that next time. But for now, Cassandra, you're just, thank you. Thank you so much. You're just full of amazing ideas and amazing theories, and the love you have for this play, I can just feel it. I felt it last time, and I felt it again today, and it's just been a huge joy, not only just to talk to you again, but just to see you again, and just to check in, and just how the latest tour has been, and best of luck with the final stretch next year and everything. And I'm sure.
Thank you for being so passionate about it too, because we come together, we find our people, and we want to be around. Obviously, why we can talk so long, because we're both so passionate about it and the arts, and I think finding your people is golden in this world as well. So thank you for and it's lovely. I've got to say, and I say it after every show to the men in the audience, we need you in the conversation. We need you in the room. So thank you for being in the room. Thank you for caring so much about this play and this movement, and to see you so moved by it gives a lot of hope. It gives us hope that there's great men in the world, safe men in the world, and
brilliant.
Appreciate you.
Cassandra, you're amazing. Thank you so much. But if you just hang on, I'll finish the recording. We'll have a debrief after that. But guys, wow. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very soon. And yes, Cassandra, until next time. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.